How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming, Shannon. Thank you.
I'm really excited. Tell me, love, what's your relationship with the water?
So I started swimming at a young age. So I was in like mommy and me, daddy and me baby swim classes. So I don't remember not knowing how to swim. And I always loved it. I remember like The Little Mermaid was my favorite movie, and I believed I was a mermaid. So like I'd spend a lot of time in the pool, underwater, just playing. Um, and I was always like in at summer camp, they test you for like the swimming levels, and I'd always get the highest one. And so my parents put me in swim team when I was like 7. And I did swim team when I was like ages 7, 8, 9, and then I stopped. So I am liking that very much. I didn't like exercise, and I was very uncomfortable in my body, like the tight swimsuit. I felt like a bit chubbier than the other kid. That I realized I was transgender in my early transition, but that time I didn't. That would impossible. So looking back, I'm like, I had some gender dysphoria as well, some discomfort in my body that was related to that. And so I was also not like a great like swim team. Like I was not like the fastest kid. I was always like B team. And all I remember is that backstroke was my number one stroke that I was really good at. So, but I always thought the 1 hour swim practice was super long. So my most vivid memory is just like watching the clock, like when is this thing going to be over? Like the swim meets were so long. Um, and yeah, when I stopped swim team when I was 9, and I never really did any athletics until adulthood. After that, I did still like love the water. So my family would always go. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and we would go to Cape May and the Jersey Shore, and I loved being in the ocean and jumping in the waves. And like I remember as a kid, like thinking that it was very like fast and to me. And I remember thinking I was like playing jump rope with God, like, jumping in the waves. And yeah, I also would go like to lakes occasionally when I was a teenager. I had a boyfriend at the time whose family's from the Adirondacks, and they're very outdoorsy. And I have some really formative memories of like when we go visit his family, like even if we got there at night, I'd be like, we have to go in the lake like first thing, like at night even. And or I have a really vivid memory of like being in Lake Champlain and like looking out when I was maybe 18 and being in the water and looking and not seeing the end and just thinking it was so like magical. But I didn't get in a or didn't get in a pool to swim laps at all. I didn't own goggles. I didn't have an athletic bathing suit. I didn't do any real like swimming as a pursuit until I was 27.
It sounds like though well, yeah, you had almost a spiritual relationship with the water, would you say?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I love to float and like feel held by the water. And I loved the idea of open water. And I also noticed like whenever I go to the ocean or like a lake, like other people would be on the beach, I would be in the water and they all thought it was cold. And I
Mm,
just never thought it was cold. So like, looking back, I don't know what those temperatures would have been like 18, 19. But, and everyone was like, oh God, I'm not getting in. But I was like, I loved it. Like, I really felt very comfortable.
I had to peek at my conversion chart. So like 64, 66, like that. Yeah. So, cool, but
I'm
doable.
loving that, the conversion.
Depending if you're on the, English channel
Yeah.
end of the listeners or the, there's cold water dippers that listen. So, I just like to give the conversion that it strikes me that I guess the way that you talk about the discomfort that you felt with swim team and yet the being held in the water that it's so accepting is what comes to mind for me. Do you want to speak? I mean, not that the swim team is its own thing, right? But maybe speak more to that feeling. That I guess I use the word acceptance, but tell me your word.
Yeah, no, acceptance is a beautiful word, or just like there's something very about swimming outside that was like really exciting and special to me. Like there's something a little bit like gross about changing rooms and chlorine. Like, no offense, people spend so much. I mean, I spend so much of my time in the pool, like, but and also there was always the aspect of like, changing rooms are like very gendered, and you have to like change in front of people and all this stuff. But something about there's always something about being outside that just felt like different and a lot more exciting and not so like limited or like closed off in that way.
Yeah. Unbound.
And then when I began Unbound, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. When I began, like when I got back to swimming, I literally learned about open water immediately and was planning my open water journey 1 month into getting into a pool and even seeing if I could swim laps. So I was like, I was never, my end goal had never had anything to do with a pool.
What was the spark that drew you to the pool? You said you were around 27. What was the thing that you were like, oh, I'm gonna try this swimming thing again?
I became a runner in my early 20s. So like I just kind of randomly started running, and that would have been like 2018. Around the pandemic, I became aware of the concept of an ultrathon. And I've never run an ultra marathon, but that was really, really exciting to me. And I was like, I should run 100 miles. I should run for 24 hours. Like I really just loved that idea and an adventure outside, like in the wilderness kind of thing. And I didn't start training for organized races till 2022. And that's when I did 2022. I signed up for my first half marathon. I did it 2023. I loved the training so much. I loved training so much that before I did the race, I'd signed up for a full marathon. And 2023 was like a big year for me because I did my first half marathon, first full marathon, and I had gotten back to the pool January 2023. So I did it as cross training and like a New Year's resolution. I was like, lots of runners seem to be swimming because they get injured and stuff. And I was not a stranger to having like a knee injury here and there. So I was like, that would be like a good way to, like if I remember how to swim laps, whatever. My dad had been doing lap swimming like for fitness, maybe for like 10 years. Like he was never a swimmer growing up. He did it just when he had some like, I think back problems in his late 50s, early 60s. And so he gave me a hand me down athletic bathing suit. Didn't really fit me, but that was enough. And I went to Canadian Tire, got some goggles. Canadians know what that is. It's not a swimming store, but it's where I found goggles. And I got in the pool and I kind of remembered immediately. Like, and I had all this aerobic fitness from like running really long
Ah,
distances. Like
yeah.
I had started running really long distances before I knew anything about what it takes to train for a marathon. So by the time I learned what distance is a marathon and how do you train, it turns out like I already had that
Wow.
weekly volume. So I had the fitness and I didn't know anything about swim workouts. I didn't remember swim team really. So I just wanted to swim for a long time. So I used the book Total Immersion to like relearn freestyle technique.
Hmm.
I haven't really changed much since then. Like it's coaches I've worked with have said that's pretty good and it like holds up. Like there's stuff to do now is not the time that I'm able to alter that too much because I'm training a lot. But that I was just doing it as cross training and more of a two sport athlete. But I learned about open water swimming so I started swimming January 2023, February 2023. I already had a spreadsheet of all the races in Ontario that I could do and
Swimming races.
swimming races. And I think the first marathon swimmer I learned about was Lynn Cox. And she's also like such a prolific cold water swimmer. And so I was reading about cold water swimming, and I don't know what possessed me to think that that was like good for, and that I would be up. I was completely right. I had never gone into cold water, like significantly cold water. But now I will routinely swim like maybe 20 minutes in like 45, 6 degrees, or 40 to 45.
Nice, nice. I like that you've got that off the top of your head. You're good.
Yes, originally American, so I used to know.
But all the listeners are all over the world, so it's good to do both.
Yeah, it's good to convert. But yeah, so I don't even remember what sparked me to get back to the pool. Yeah, it was for cross training, and then it kind of took over my life because then I sort of like as soon as I didn't even really realize I lived next to Lake Ontario like this. So I live in Toronto, and like I remember first moving here. And when I was like 18, 17, 18, and I remember asking my boyfriend at the time, like, that? And he was like, that is Lake Ontario. Like, never ask anyone that again.
Yeah,
That's so embarrassing. Um,
what is that huge body of water over there?
I know, literally, that seemingly ocean next to us, where I can't see the end, Lake Ontario, and I knew I wanted to do opening. I found out you could swim in Lake Ontario. I found a group to swim with who I started swimming with in June of that year. But by the time I was swimming with them in June of that year, I had learned you could swim across Lake Ontario. I'd learned the history of that. I had learned, oh, there's this lady in town. Her name's Kim Lumsden, and she did it twice. She did it as a teenager and then in her 40s. And then she was training to do it again at the time and in her 60s. And I was like, this is so freaking cool. Like, I should do that too. So I immediately, like, maybe like 2, 3 months into swimming, I was like, I'm gonna swim across Lake Ontario.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Well, you knew you had the stamina. It sounded like you said, like, I'm just curious, when you were even like younger, so you mentioned, like immediately being drawn to these distances, but when you were like, even like earlier, did you ever know of like that enduring, that kind of capacity just to like push and like to what even all-nighters, or I don't know, I'm like really curious about yeah, like what draw, just because I can see to myself, I guess is why I'm asking. It's like I can remember being like 10 and looking up the world record for treading water. It's just like, so anyway, I'm just wondering if there was any like hint before all of a sudden you're just doing these crazy distances running.
No, it's completely wild. Absolutely not. Nothing would ever suggest it. Like I couldn't run a mile. And when we did the president's physicals, the kid like last finished walking the mile. I had exercise induced asthma
Oh,
at the
wow.
time. It just, yeah. And I would complain when we'd walk. Like my family, like will tell you I was so annoying. Like, cause my memory is my feet really hurt. So maybe it had to do with growing, but I couldn't be made to even walk. Like it was, so it really, the reason I think maybe running stuck with me so much is because I was so shocked. I was really defying my own understanding of myself. And when I learned about the approach of like long, slow distance to increase aerobic fitness, like that's really what I learned when I learned about ultramathoning is that these people don't push themselves really hard and run fast all the time. They just go out there for a really long time at an easy pace. And when you find an easy pace, it's a forever pace. You could do something forever.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool. And I love the feeling of that. So when I started swimming, I think I locked into a forever pace, which is not an uber fast pace or anything, but I locked into that quite early. So there was no reason for me to stop. Like I went out with the open water group for the first week. I think I swam like 3 kilometers on my first day, and I didn't know I would do that. I just didn't see why to stop. Like,
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's so cool. Okay, so take us back. So you find out about Lake Ontario. You're like, okay, I'm swimming across.
yeah, and well, I swam my first summer 2023. I signed up for like a 2.5 kilometer race, and I also signed up for a 3.8 kilometer race, which is a really great race. It's put on by Lake Ontario swim team out in like west of Toronto and Oakville. That year, though, in 2023. It didn't end up being 3.8 kilometers because we had an upwelling and the lake turned over and it was suddenly 4 degrees. And what's so cool about that group, it's such an amazing group of people and a lot of them have swum Lake Ontario. I mean, a lot, like a handful. But what's so cool about that group is I think like 150 plus people were signed up for the race and it got cold. And I think like all but like one or two still
Wow.
swam it and they reduced the distance I think to like 750 750 meters.
Hmm.
And that was such a magical experience. I did it in a wetsuit because they were warning, like, if you're not an experienced ice swimmer, like, don't do this without a wetsuit. But that really altered my brain chemistry. I was like, oh, next time I'm not in a wetsuit. Like, next
Yeah.
time I'm doing this, like, full on. So yeah, that was my first summer. I think that winter I joined a swim group, like a queer and trans focused like swim group, which was cool. And that's how I met my coach, Ty, who became my coach. Um, and then they wound up asking me, like, I think, but at that point, I knew I was going to swim across Lake Ontario. I was telling not my family, because it would really stress out my mom, but dad, and some friends of mine. I was just putting it out there. I ran my first marathon. I was like, I already had it in mind. I was like, okay, I just have to do that. It was like a 5 hour marathon. I was like, okay, let's do that 4 more times. That's Lake Ontario. So I got it. Um, and yeah, my second summer,
Hold on a sec.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you run your first marathon, so running, right? But you're calculating like the mental, like Lake Ontario swimming would be like this run, but 4 more times, just to be
Yes.
clear, right?
Yes.
But you're
Yeah.
thinking of it. Are you thinking of it primarily as the mental challenge of it or the physical challenge?
Yes. I guess both. I guess both, but yeah, I think it was helping me start to wrap my head around what it was because I'd never done an athletic effort for more than 5 hours.
Hmm.
Like that was the most of the time I'd ever spent on any training run, training swim, or race. So I was like trying to wrap my head around over 24 hours.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I definitely always, I don't know why I always said the 24-hour number. I don't know how I knew it would be that. But the whole time, like when I was pitching it to people, explaining it, they'll say, how long does that take or whatever? And I would always say, it will take me 24 hours. Really fast people, it's like 15 or 16 hours. But I was like, I think it'll take me 24 hours.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. I remember the race goes by the lake. It's the waterfront marathon. And I remember looking at the lake being like this film doing this.
That's really cool. I just think like just how you made the association and swimming and running. It's cool to me. I'm curious as that first summer that you're coming into these swimming events and competitions, as you mentioned, what was that like for you as like with transgender? I don't know. Did you feel like you were bumping up against, I don't know, things?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. Like my experience, like being trans, I mean, it more affected me in the like, locker room, like getting comfortable in a locker room
Hmm.
to swim in a pool for training, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I will say, maybe another thing that kept me from swimming till my late 20s is I didn't have top surgery till I was like 25.
Hmm.
Um, I transitioned in my like maybe I was 20, but I just for different reasons, insurance and stuff, I waited. And so like I remember like I would even go to the gym to like use the elliptical and just leave sweaty. Like I would just leave sweaty in my sweaty clothes and like get on the subway like that. So post top surgery, I was like getting used to like, oh, I can change in this changing room and like it can be okay. And like no one's gonna, I'm very lucky, like no one bothered me. I'm also very lucky, like I'm not non-binary. Like I feel comfortable in like men's changing rooms and like men's
Hmm.
spaces like that, or like for a race, for example, like entering the men's category, I felt very comfortable with that, especially in the open water swimming community. Well, here at least, I don't know if it's like this in everywhere, but it's sort of like high schoolers and then like people in their 50s plus, and then like very few people in between. So I don't even worry about like who's in my category or whatever. I've frequently won my age group just by being there. It's not even like, oh, like, am I going to compete? It's like, I'm the only man who swam 3 miles without a wetsuit. And so I win. Who's
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I just win. So it wasn't very like for me in my age group, which there's this like big canyon of there's like no one in there. I just didn't even worry about being in competition with anyone. And yeah, I found it quite, for me personally, quite accepting and friendly. But then again, I think a lot of people who encountered me in that setting didn't even know I was trans until I started training to swim across Lake Ontario and being very vocal that I will be the first openly trans person to swim across Lake Ontario or any Great Lake.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think I've always felt like open water, like kind of like levels. It doesn't really, depending on how short it, whatever, like distances or whatever. But I feel like it just like we're just a bunch of humans in the water. And so yeah. So I just think I think one of my first memories that like drew me into marathon swimming was actually like a woman winning an event like outright, and it was beautiful to me to see just that there wasn't this separation and this like it was still there, and there were still awards given for men and women, but it was just beautiful to me to just see that, a woman walked up on the shore and she was the one that just won. And it I don't know, I guess that's me thinking whatever. My story.
No, no, I
But
love that about the sport too. I love that
yeah,
about the sport.
in my heart of hearts, I just believe that we're just a bunch of humans bumping around in the water. What doesn't matter what category or how we call ourselves. So anyway, take me to your training.
Yeah. Well, I just want to also say, like, in the ultra marathon space, like running and swimming, ultra marathon events in general, like gender divides do tend to fall away, or even like, to me, when I think about the greatest marathon swimmers of all time, like to me, like my top five are all women. And like when you think about people who swam all five Great Lakes, which is like my goal, that's what I want to do. If I did that, if I completed that as of now, I would be the first man of any kind to do that because only three women have swam across all five Great Lakes. And I do know a really awesome guy who is working on it, and he's attempting three this year. So if he does that this year, he will be the first man. Congrats. That would be awesome. Knock on wood. But like it is this sport where like these distances are massive, and there's so many external conditions, and really like we are just all a bunch of humans. Different people have different advantages. Insulation from the cold is an advantage. Resilience to cold is an advantage. Just general endurance over speed becomes an advantage. Like it's so cool, and I love that. Like I think it's a very, in the scheme of things, it's a very like ungendered sport in that way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I love that. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the training. Yeah. So my second year is 2024. And that's when I was like working with my coach, and I was like, my long term goal is to swim across Lake Ontario. So I did my first 5K that year. I did my first 10K. My first 10K was Glasgow, unfortunately, where um, I won't go deeply into it, but basically the event organizers like didn't started late and didn't book the timing mat, and I got pulled out because I was only going to finish like I think I got pulled out at like 3 hours 15 because my finishing time was going to be like 3:40, and I was so mad. But I got back in the water and finished it. Like I got out for like 10 minutes, waited till like they cleared out their stuff or whatever. I got back in and finished it. But I mean, that day was great. I literally did it, the 10K, and was like, I could do that four more times easily. Like I was feeling great, no issues. I did a lot of volume that year. I train like, I don't know that many people where I know the details of their training. Like I see people like on Strava and stuff, but I really don't do a lot of speed work. I do like a little, like I'll do like one speed workout a week. And then I do long, slow distance. Like I think I train like an ultra marathon runner. Like I just get in the pool and continuously swim slow for like, a couple of days ago, I just did 8 hours in the pool, just back and forth, swim slow, stop every 30 minutes, train my gut, have my feeling. And that's really worked for me. Like that's really worked out super well because yeah, my big year obviously was last year, my first marathon swim, and the training went really well. The training's my favorite part. Like it's about the training. I also learned so much about like promoting a swim and doing fundraising. So like I knew like be the first open trans person to do this, and I don't want it to be like this like private achievement just for myself. Like I want to let people into it, and I want to like raise money to materially support my community. And I raised $7,000 for LGBT Youth Line, which is a peer support organization here in Ontario. I actually used to be a volunteer for them when I was just coming out as trans when I was 20. And yeah, it's great. They train youth to be like peer support volunteers to support other youth who share their lived experience. So it was so great to get the support of really like everyone in my city, it felt like, and outside my city and like in my community who was real excited and believed in what I was doing to like crowdfund the swim and then raise money on top of that to donate. Like it was really a huge like learning experience for me because that was the hardest part. Like the swimming is not the hardest part. The logistics and the arranging everything um and raising the funds, like that was the hardest part for sure. But yeah, I guess I could talk more about training, but it's such a big like
Well, I'm
topic.
curious. How about this? Just because it's a quandary in my life, and or it has been an exploration. Like, how do you? You mentioned that you just had went out and trained for 8 hours. How do you find that I guess the balance that like with like we need community and socialization and some kind of land. I guess I'm aging perimenopause woman. So I'm like I got to build bone strength because I don't want to get osteoporosis. So that's me. But I'm like finding like I need a balance because if I swim too much, well, I can feel the shoulders, whatever. So again, you're young, but I want all of us to be thinking like we need to. Yeah, I don't know that we're going to turn into mermaids if we just keep swimming. So how do we find the balance in our lives so that we're not? I guess there's an all-consuming aspect of it too, where I've seen myself be pulled in, and I'm like, oh, I just want to do the next thing and the next thing, and I want to find balance in that respect too. It's like, what could the next thing be, and then how could I also, give back? All the things you're talking about. So just talk to me a little bit about how you find the balance in your life.
Yeah, I felt the shoulders last year. Oh my God. Okay, after my first 10-hour, so I did a 10-hour pool swim, which was like the best day of my life ever. It was so fun.
Wow.
But afterwards, I couldn't lift my left arm
Oh
and I
no.
was having like a breakdown at that time. That was almost like exactly 1 year ago. Um, because at that time I'd already like raised a lot of money to swim. I was like, these people are paying for me to do this thing. And like, I might have just like messed everything up. Um, Turns out like, when you swim for 10 hours, sometimes your body hurts. And then
Yeah.
like, I just had to be calm and patient and like, you know, do my physical therapy, which I hadn't been engaged with for some godforsaken reason. I had not consulted a physical therapist. So this year, it's a night and day difference. Like this is just on the physical aspect of balance. It's really a night and day difference between 8 hours and 10 hours different. But I did my 8 hour swim and barely any soreness, no pain. Like the one rest day and the next day I'm at swim practice swimming fast. And the things I'd attribute that to are simple physical therapy exercises prescribed for me that I do before each swim
Nice.
and one strength training workout per week that my coach
Nice.
gave me. And like literally like just it doesn't have to be like so much. It's just like a little bit of balancing out the physical part. And another piece I do to balance out the physical part is that I'll do 5 swims a week. And this week, even I might be doing 4 and a run. So I'll do like 1 run a week to get some aerobic work while not doing the same repetitive movements again and again and have some of that still like land-based existence because oh my God, after my swim last year, I tried to go to like after my big Lake Ontario swim, I tried to go to a run club a couple weeks later. And I think I fell like 3 times, scraped all the skin off both my knees. Like I had no land-based like movement anymore. It was wild. So yeah, my heart rate was like 200, like not even exaggerating. Like it was 200. So yeah, I think balance with other physical activity, but that doesn't really answer the question of like, how do you have a life? Like, I have a very flexible job. Like, I'm a therapist, so like, I work my full hours, but I work them at different times. Sometimes a lot of my clients like afternoon and evening, and and this year I've really been trying to like still see my friends and like still socialize, and I really of credit to the people in my life who understand that sometimes I go through this training period and season of life where like I can't come to them as much or all the time. Like they need to come to me. We need to meet in the middle. We need to do something related to what I'm doing. Like let's meet and have coffee and then go for a swim or, whatever. I have found that it's been easy or it's surprised me how much I've made new friends or new connections with people through swimming. Like one friend in particular, thinking of I had just started swimming a little bit with Lake Ontario swim team and out in Oakville. And I didn't know anything about really how the swims were done. I didn't know you kind of group up with some people and then they'll swim out and back together. I just knew that there were some people swimming around buoys close to the shore. And then there were some people who kept going. So I knew that I wanted to keep going. So I actually met my friend Janice because we had swam for 1 kilometer and I was just following them. And she stopped and she was like, who are you? And I was like, oh, I'm Lex. And I met her out in the middle of Lake Ontario. So not in the middle, but along the shore,
Yeah.
just out there.
In
So
the people that are keeping going, right?
yeah, exactly. In the group of people doing I guess it must have been a 3K. Um, so yeah, I've definitely connected with a lot of new people. I've had a lot of friends and especially felt gotten a lot closer to my sister through this. So my sister's not a swimmer at all. She lives in North Carolina, nowhere near me. But she's really good with websites and marketing and just being organized. She's got her MBA. She's a very leader. And when she knew I wanted to do the Lake Ontario swim, she sprung immediately into action. She made me a website. She made the crowdfunding page. And then she came, stayed in Toronto, for my swim. And that's another story is my swim got delayed, quite a bit due to weather.
Mm.
My window was August 24 to 29 and I went on September 2nd and I
Wow.
didn't know I was going to go. But anyway, my sister and my dad were here with me while I was having a nervous breakdown.
Breakdown, yeah.
And that's the most time me and my sister had really ever spent together since we lived in the same house. And she's a lot
Wow.
older than me. So since I was 8. Yeah. Yeah. So I felt like this has actually, brought me a lot closer to other people. I've also made a lot of friends, especially this time around. So I was very overwhelmed last year. I was like, oh, I think my sister was mostly doing my social media. And then this year, I have taken that on and I'm glad I did because I've made a bunch of friends through doing that and hearing from people who are swimmers and athletes and um, just all kinds of different connections. So that's been cool. I think embracing the social aspect of it and the fact that it's I didn't really do social media at all before. I didn't maintain any personal social media at all. And so it's really showed me oh, people actually care about you and they care about what you're doing and your support means something to other people too. So it's been that's been it consumes my whole life. And it's brought me a lot of richness into my life.
Yeah, I can hear that just in the way that you're talking about it. And I don't know, the word authentic jumped in my head. It sounds like it helped, not just you're yourself in every instance, and it's, it's just enriching everything. It just in that, I don't know, that's just what popped in my head.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but you haven't told us about Lake Ontario. Take us there. So it gets delayed. You're having the nervous breakdown. You're about
There were water spouts, there were thunderstorms, there was which I will say this, if anyone's listening and they are considering Lake Ontario, I should have known this because I realized later it says this on the application form with Solo Swims Ontario. Do not pick the last week of August because you will get weathered out. So just don't select the last week of August. If anything, if you can pick mid-July. Mid-July is the best, clearest time for Lake Ontario. Although the whole end of August thing, I do wonder, it didn't always used to be that bad. It is probably related to climate change on some level, the chaos that was occurring in the lake when I was supposed to go. So, um, yeah, I worked with a company, Swim 51, who did the boats. They've kind of stepped up in the past year, 2 years, and it's kind of coordinated with another another marathon swimmer. He does the coordination, Greg, and Greg Matinsky, he was supposed to go the week before me, but his swim got weathered out. Then my swim got weathered out. And then it was supposed to, we were kind of half like sharing that window because my window was also cut short by like, there's an air show in Toronto. So there's going to be like military planes like flying around and we couldn't
Oh,
be in
wow.
the Port Authority restricted zone, whatever. So we were kind of sharing the first window and then it was supposed to go over back to him at the beginning of September, but he was really gracious and he let me have that first week of September because I mean I don't fully know the reasons. I really appreciate it. He has swum Lake Ontario before, and maybe because it was my first time, but that is the reason I got to go, and I got the notice. I think at night, in Friday, August 29th, if that's right. And at that point, I was so stressed about the weather like, I was never stressed about the distance. I was never stressed about the swim. I never thought, oh, I had 100% unwavering confidence in all the parts that were in my control. But my understanding was that this is nature. This is a great, massive force of nature. And if it doesn't let you through, it doesn't let you through. And that's it. People have had their swims ended literally hundreds of meters from the shore because nature decides it's not going to happen. And that's not in my human power. It's not, can't see that bigger picture. So for me, I, I guess I fear that on some level. Everything that I can control, am I going to keep swimming? Yes. Like, am I going to eat all my food? Yes. So, um, yeah, we got to Niagara on the Lake. It was gorgeous, beautiful night. I was told we're starting at 2 a.m. I did not get any say in that, and that is okay. So I was like, okay, I'm swimming 2 a.m. to 2 a.m. That's what it is. So we drove to Niagara on the lake. It's about 2 hour drive from Toronto with all my crew, pacers, everyone. Um, and basically the way it works, like the crew and everyone got on the boat at the marina, which is a bit of a drive from the start, and they drove over on the boat. But because they didn't want me to get seasick, they drove me in the car to start. And we're just looking out over the lake, and it was gorgeous. Like you could actually see Toronto. It was so clear, and then the stars were like really, really bright. And people asked me like, "Did you see any fish or wildlife or whatever?" And I didn't see anything throughout the swim, but I saw something before the swim. So we saw a raccoon like walking on the shore and kind of like bumbling, like, and then the raccoon got in the water and started swimming and I've never seen a raccoon swim before. Um, I raccoons are sort of like the unofficial mascot of Toronto, and so I was like, that means I'm going to make it to Toronto.
Wow.
um, so
Nice.
yeah, it was so cute. It was so cute. I love it. Um, and so yeah, then I had a panic attack meltdown because I thought I lost all my water bottles.
Oh, no.
Um, yeah, they like there was chaos. Like when we were at the marina before we drove over, there was chaos. There's bags and all the supplies and like there's like so much stuff, but we didn't have like a great system. We didn't
Mm.
have like because my sister was kind of the point person for that, and she had to go back home on the plane a couple days before.
Oh,
So
no. Oh,
um,
no.
so basically, at the end of the day, that was supposed to be on the Zodiac was actually, thank God, on the main boat, and they did find it. But when I started my swim, I didn't know that. So I thought, okay, all my water bottles that we rigged up, and what was it? My mug for like hot feeds and stuff was like, we don't know where it is. But I had a friend with me, and she was just like, they're going to take care of you. Trust your crew. They're going to take care of you. Because I had like literally because of the change up, they switched my swim master, like the observer, and I wound up having unexpectedly the president of the board of Solo Swim Ontario, Marilyn Korzakwa, like there, and she's like a legend. She's did like Ontario both directions. She did Lake Superior. She did like she knows she's a very like together person, and she's like, well, we got a bottle. We'll rig it up. Okay, let's go.
Nice.
And so we just started swimming. It turns out in the first half hour before I even had my first feed, like they found the bag, they got it on the Zodiac.
Sorted.
It
Yeah.
was all good. I swam through the night and yeah, swimming through the night was wonderful. I had done a little night swimming in practice. It never scared me. I really enjoyed it. The sunrise was beautiful, most beautiful sunrise like up in the world, like in the middle of Lake Ontario is indescribably beautiful. Like, and I mean, it was the best 2 days of my life. Like, it really was like my birthday. Like, everyone's there to support me. Like, I get to just swim and swim supported, and I don't have to worry about anything. So I really was just like having the time of my life, and I was very smiley generally. I had a couple issues. I didn't have any stomach problems, like not nausea, but I was disgusted by my food. Like I couldn't like some of the food we'd planned or like that I planned like with my dietitian at the time, like it was gross.
Yeah.
So luckily I had paranoia that that might happen. So I like I think like 40 or 60 Morton 160 gels and I switched to Morton. And at one point, like I did gag up a gel. I just took another one. Like I did not let myself miss a feeding. I think that is like the number one, like most important thing. Cause I'm not gonna bonk because I don't have carbs. Like that's something I could control. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was important to me. That was my biggest issue. And then um the other moment of quite extreme adversity, I would say, would be uh, Lake Ontario. When you come into Toronto, there's like the Humber River, and that has this current that like blows you out. So you kind of like when you leave Niagara, there's the Niagara River, and it actually was making me go like so fast. So people were watching my tracker, and they were like, "You're gonna finish under 20 hours or something like that," like which would be completely unprecedented based on like my own actual pace. And I had known, I always knew that when I came to Toronto, the Humber River would blow me back. And that I think my first swim master told me that the last 8 kilometers takes 5 hours or something like
Mm.
that. So I calculated everything, planning 5 or even 6 hours for the last 8 kilometers, like in my mental assessment. Like at one point, I was like maybe 3 quarters of the way distance wise. But I knew I was basically halfway or less time wise. So like my crew was trying to tell me like, oh, you're in the last quarter or whatever. And I was like, no. Like until I encounter the current from that river, I know that I'm not counting any chickens. Like this hasn't happened until I actually touch the wall. It's not over. Um, and I think so. I've been swimming since 2 a.m. and at like 10 p.m. So like 20 hours in, my coach, everyone's like looking a little concerned. I wasn't feeling bad. I was feeling actually good. I was like chugging along, like whatever. But everyone's looking a little concerned. And my coach is like, so you're not moving? Like I think at 1 hour I moved like 400 meters or something like that. Like
Wow.
because the current was so strong. Like the current gets so
Oh,
strong like around the Toronto Islands when you come in because of the river. So they were like, okay, like, what's your effort level right now? And I think I said like 4 out of 10. And they were like, okay, like put it at like a 7 or an 8, and then we'll check in after an hour. And that's when I started like pushing. So at 20 hours, I started pushing.
wow.
And they let me know, like after an hour of that, they're like, you doubled your speed. Like you've, it was funny. My coach was like, your legs should be pretty fresh because I don't kick like at
Yeah.
all. So I just started kicking for like the first time in my life. And yeah, that was my favorite part. Like that was really my favorite part because I had been getting like I also got lucky. The water was like 20 degrees throughout. And I had prepped for a lot colder and maybe cold patches or colder at the end. But I was even like very uncharacteristically like starting to get cold because the air temp was like 12, like think like in the 50s, I think,
Hmm. Hmm.
at night. So I was starting to get cold, which is not normal for me. But when I started pushing, I felt myself almost like switch over to like burning carbs. And I started to feel hungry and I was, and that was great. That was a great feeling. So like I really like, I think I did like 3.5 hours of like hard. It must have been even closer to 4 hours of hard effort at the end because to get through the current. And they told me they were like, "Oh, we'll let you know when you're through the current and you can stop." Well, they never let me know. Like
Yeah,
the
there's
next
like,
time someone let me know something, they said, "You're." I think they were like, you're 500 meters away or something like that. And I was like, from the end of the current? And they were like, no, from the end. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I think I had stopped to ask for an Advil, and then they told me that. I was like, I don't need an Advil. And I kept on going. But weirdly, like, I was in a lot less pain than I was after my 10-hour swim. Like,
Mm.
really, like, and actually, the side that bothered me on the training swims was my left side, and the only thing I felt was maybe like a 2 out of 10 discomfort on my right side for this one. So when I got out, like I touched the wall. I climbed that there's like a ladder at Maryland Bell Park, and I climbed up the ladder. And my coach was saying to the people watching, there was a few people gathered, like some friends, and I was really happy that people had showed up to the end, like 2 a.m.,
Yeah.
2:30. And my coach was like, don't touch his shoulders. And I have the video of me, and I just laughed because I was like, I'm not in any pain. Like I got out and I first thing lifted up my arms to show everyone like I can lift up my arms. And then my swim master comes up to me and she's like, let me feel how cold you are. And she touched me and I was hot.
Oh, wow.
And then she just laughed and
Yeah.
and left me because they were all like, oh, we'll need to medically examine you at the end and stuff, but nobody needed to medically examine me at the end. I honestly felt like amazing. And that I have a video of my dad's like, how do you feel? And I was like, feel amazing. Like, this is the best day ever. And yeah, I'm off. Like, I knew before I had spent Lake Ontario, I wanted to do like all 5 Great Lakes. So after that, I was like, yeah, I was born to do this. Like, I need to do more of this. Um, and yeah, I'm lucky enough that this will never happen to me again. But we just drove 20 minutes home. I'm about to go to bed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's hard to get the swims close to home, but that's amazing. Um, so you're gonna do all 5 lakes, and you've got the next one coming up. Tell us.
Yes, I'm gonna swim again, if you fine. Um, and that's going to be from Port Sanilac, Michigan to Port Franks, Ontario. It'll be 55 kilometers, so a little bit longer. And first week of August. Um, and again, this one, the challenges are mostly logistical. I'm very, very lucky to have found like a pilot who's willing to do it. Um, and I have some awesome crew coming with me, some people who were with me on the last one do. So yeah, I'm just extremely excited. I'm in the middle of my training. Like, I'm in some really big weeks right now. I've got a 10-hour swim next week, and I'm just having the best time. The best time.
So cool. I love your passion for it. Where does running sit now that you've got this hard charge in the marathon swimming world? Do you still run long distances as well?
Yeah, well, I actually ran just 5K this morning for some cross training. I did run in the off season, so I did like a 16-kilometer, 10-miler day after Christmas, and I got my 10K PR in early December this past year. Um, I'm not a super fast runner. I think I should know this off the top of my head. I think it was like 55 minutes. Um, and then I ran a 30-kilometer road race in March. It's called Around the Bay. Locals
Wow.
will know of it. It's a great race for people who do open water swimming and don't have time to train for a marathon. Because then I finished that in mid-April and dove right into like I finished that April 12th. April 12th is kind of late to training for an August crossing. So I was doing both. I really started my swim training in April, and I balanced it 50-50. I'm a self-coached runner, and um, I also kind of live vicariously through my good friend who's actually she's on my Lake Ontario crossing, and she'll be on my next one because she's a registered nurse, and she's such an awesome crew member, but she's a great, very talented runner. So I also live vicariously through her by
Nice.
coaching her for a 5K PB, hopefully, knock on wood, in June. And yeah, I definitely like still hang out with my friends while they do track workouts and stuff, but I'm
Nice.
not allowed to run hard. But yeah, still love running, will always run. Definitely dreaming of 100-mile race one day. And just to do ultra marathons in general. But I don't know. I think swimming, I mean, it's a lot more expensive and hard to coordinate.
Mm.
However, like I'd say I'm a pretty slow to average runner, and I'm a pretty slow to average swimmer as well. Like when I do these swims in like 8 hour swim, I did it on like a 2:14 per 100 pace, or, and in open water, I typically swim like 2:30 to 2:45. But, but to, to do it for 24 hours, I know I can do it for 24 hours. So I
Mm.
can achieve to that level where I've done something like less than 100 people have done. Or when I do like Huron, it'll be like it's less than 10 people, I
Mm.
think.
Wow.
I think I think it's only like I only know of four by name who've done it,
Wow.
so it could be more than that. But it's one of those things. It's a really rare sport where you can be kind of physically average in some ways and still be a world class performer at something
Right?
and still do something that few people have done. So it's very exciting to me, and especially as a trans person, like I knew I would be the first trans person to swim across Lake Ontario. I knew I'd be the first trans person to swim across any of the five Great Lakes. What I
Mhm.
didn't realize is that I cannot find another openly trans person who's done a ratified marathon swim. And so I it sort of calls to me too, like it's exciting. Like everything I do, I would be the first, but also I hope that it's part of a larger snowball effect of visibility where like as I'm doing it, there becomes competition for that. Like, I hope to hear from other trans people who are marathon swimmers or who want to do marathon swims and who will in the future. Like, that idea also excites me of like everything I do is also like raising visibility. Like, everything I do right now is a first, but my goal is that it won't be so easy to get first, that maybe someone trans will like beat me across the English Channel or something like that. Like that would be really cool. And maybe they're listening. Like that really excites me.
That's that's amazing. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to you, Love, for sharing your story because yeah, for me it's all about inspiring people to test their capacity and to have a meaningful life, really. And I'm thrilled that marathon swimming has spoke to you and brought meaning to your life and that you shared your story with us. Thank you so much.
Of course, I have to tell you, like your podcast was instrumental, like in my journey. I'm thinking to like maybe it would have been May 2023 or 4. I was just on the train, like on the way to see a friend, like listening to episodes of your podcast and being like, I think I was actually crying because I was so like moved of like, I'm going to
Wow.
do this. Like I'm manifesting that this is going to happen. So like literally, yeah, without like being able to hear people's stories, like I think it would have been harder for me to conceptualize like, doing this myself. So it's very exciting to talk to you, and it's very exciting to be on this podcast right now. Like you sharing people's stories, like it affects the world in a really, really good way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm glad to have been a teeny tiny bit of your journey. So keep after it, Love. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you.